Hello, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner from Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota, with a quick update on the expected severe weather across the region for Friday night and into Saturday. Now, there is currently a tornado watch out for this region. It does not include South Dakota at this time, but I do expect as we get into the nighttime hours, we're going to be seeing severe thunderstorm watches, at the very least, perhaps even a tornado watch for some of you across South Dakota. So be on the lookout for that. So we currently Friday evening have some nice rain and some thunderstorms across the eastern Dakotas, getting some areas finally getting some much needed rain, and then some stronger storms a little more east into central and eastern parts of Minnesota. There were a few special weather statements and an isolated severe thunderstorm warning here and there, but ultimately the focus is this stuff out in the west. This is going to be the main line that's going to be pushing eastward through the nighttime hours. Now, out ahead of it, there may be a few storms that pop up with some severe thunderstorm warning type of activity, but ultimately it's going to be this line here that we're going to be watching moving eastward into the overnight hours. That's going to be the main problem. And so while we'll have some showers and storms out here, we're really not expecting a whole lot in the way of severe activity, especially as we go deeper into the night. But watch this stuff further out in the west. Look at that big line, the big line of storms pushing out of Wyoming, Montana, and into western parts of South Dakota. And this line moving eastward through the overnight hours fairly quickly to where we're going to be dealing with the potential, at least, of some very large hail and some damaging winds as it moves east throughout the overnight and into the early part of Saturday morning. Now, I think by the time it reaches that far southwestern parts of Minnesota, I don't think by this point we're looking at anything severe, maybe an isolated storm or something that might be out of this, but the main part of the storm, the real damaging stuff, I think by this point, once we get into the early morning hours, will ultimately be done. But we're going to continue to see some rain and some storms move eastward, and then we kind of reload a little bit a little later into the day as we have this big low pressure system that's kind of winding up here across South Dakota. We've got this frontal boundary that's pushing eastward throughout the day, and you can see how some of these storms begin to fire up and wrap up around that low pressure system. Now, a few of these storms going into the afternoon have the potential for being severe, with the main threats being the hail and some damaging winds associated with it. I think the threat, if there's any type of tornadic threat, it would be further down to the south, more into Iowa. Not to say that it's zero, but I think that's just where the better chance is going to be. Now, further back towards the west, we could see a few scattered storms refire. Now, we might see an isolated storm or two that could just reach that severe levels of 1 inch hail, 60 mile per hour winds. We might also have some storms further to the north. I don't think these will be severe. And then perhaps we're looking at least some decent rains across some areas that definitely need it, across northern parts of Minnesota and eastern portions of North Dakota. For Saturday, your slight risk, your 2 out of 5, just kind of makes it into south central parts of Minnesota, with your 1 out of 5 moving just a little past the Twin Cities. But again, most of the severe weather is going to be to the south, is mainly where our main focus is more likely going to be. Now, as we go through the overnight hours Saturday night, we kind of push these storms on eastward. We're left with some scattered storm activity, but nothing that's going to be severe into the overnight hours. And then really once we get into Saturday morning and into the afternoon hours, we're just kind of left on the back side of this low pressure system. So Minnesota, you're probably still looking at a chance for some scattered showers and storms throughout the day on Saturday as well, before this system finally exits off to the east. Just to kind of give you an idea of the possible rainfall amounts as we go through Saturday night and into Sunday morning, essentially, some pretty good rains for some of you. And like I said, some of you definitely need it, especially across east central parts of Minnesota and down here across southeast parts of South Dakota as well. Now, unfortunately, this one's predicting a bit of a hole in some of your areas that definitely need it. Hopefully that's not the case, but at least it looks like some fairly widespread beneficial rains. Now, there are some areas further to the north, north central, northwestern parts of North Dakota that are also sitting pretty dry as well up there. They could definitely use some. It looks like you guys are going to be out of luck when it comes to this particular system. Beyond Sunday, we've got a day or two of just some relatively quiet weather. Monday, Tuesday, it might not be until more so into Wednesday night until we've got the potential at least for some more storms exiting out of the high plains region and moving across South Dakota. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on that and give you a better update once we get closer to that timeline. But other than that, once that low pressure kind of moves through, we've got some scattered activity. Might see some isolated severe storms Wednesday, Thursday. But other than that, not a whole lot going on in the forecast at this point. In fact, as we get back into the extended outlook, guys, unfortunately, look at this. Yeah, we've got a bit of a ridge again that sets back up, and you know what that means. Not much for the way of precipitation and weather. So I'll have the live stream up and going tonight, and I will pop in occasionally just to kind of give you the update. And if things really get going, I'll stay on camera throughout the night just to help kind of guide some of you guys out in western parts of South Dakota to help keep you safe. So, and then also into Saturday, we'll kind of play it by ear. Just depends on how things are looking as far as Minnesota goes. For Saturday, just as it depends on how the severe weather sets up there, and we might have a live stream there as well. So if you haven't done so already, of course, hit the subscribe button down below and then hit the bell button that pops up. That way you are notified when I am on live and you can watch this stream and you can stay informed and ahead of the storm. All right, everybody, for Region Weather Live, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner, and everybody have a good day.